Good evening, good afternoon, welcome to this week's edition of the Inside Out Effect podcast, the now self-proclaimed personal and self-development podcast globally in the world. So globally and in the world. Yeah. And that's only at 6 p.m. on a Saturday night. So thank you for joining us. So I'm your host, Stephen Jakes from healingthemind.co.uk and co-founder of the Inside Out Effect. And today's episode is quite a sensitive episode. There's been a lot of it on mainstream media, and also there's a lot about it on social media. And it's about how to heal dark thoughts and feeling suicidal. And there's a lot around that right now, especially across all the media platforms and all the mental health groups. So we decided today to do a podcast covering this. And I know it is quite a sensitive subject, so but we will be delving into that and talking about what causes it and what the impact is and how it actually can be resolved and actually reversed, if you know what I mean. So the best way to do it. Yeah. But obviously, before we start, I'd like to bring in our own resident nutty professor, my partner, my good friend, creator of the DTO system, and author of the book Decoding Pain, the emotional blueprint to healing chronic pain. And I have got the fast, and I have the furious, and the marvellous Jonathan Shaw. Hello, mate. How you doing? So, welcome.
Like Fast and Furious, very good. I like that. Yeah, it makes it sound like Kung Fu Panda. And I love Kung Fu Panda. It's brilliant.
Yeah, Fast and
brilliant.
Furious.
Yeah, fantastic.
Kung Fu Panda's great.
Actually. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant film. But yes, no, I'm good, thanks. Yes.
Yeah, been. Yes. Yeah, fun. So it's been 3 weeks since we've done the last podcast.
Yes.
And so there's probably a lot that's happened in that 3 weeks between then and now. Yeah. So would you like to divulge to the watchers and the listeners exactly what's been going on in the world of Jonathan Shaw and his clinic and Inside Out, and what's been happening in the last 3 weeks?
Yeah, it's been a really, really busy 3 weeks. I'm just about to start another clinic up in Billericay, 1 day a week, starting up there, and I've already got a fully booked out clientele in that.
Which we're doing a
law of attraction talk on the 16th of March, which is a Monday evening. We're doing our first law of attraction talk of this year. It's in Billericay. You can check it out on Facebook.
And Eventbrite.
Yeah. So but get tickets as soon as possible because they fill out really, really quickly. It's still super popular. So we're very much looking forward to that because we did one at this same place last year, which was great. Yeah. And just been super busy with clients. And yeah, just treating lots of people, and it's just
nothing exciting then.
Oh no, something very exciting.
What?
Something very exciting. The DTO book.
Yep.
The DTO handbook.
Yes.
Is nearly ready to start being published.
Fantastic.
And we are looking to get it published rather than self-publish it. So that is in its final draft.
Yes.
It's going to go through proofread, and then we're looking for a publisher to publish the DTO handbook.
Fantastic.
Which is just the basic DTO process so that anyone can learn to do the basic process, and there is a video course online that goes with that as well. So
marvellous. That's great. And I know you put a lot of work into that, mate, so well done you. Yeah. And all that hard work's now come to pay off because it's taken a year and a half.
It's taken about a year to write the book, even though it's a small book. The person I'm doing it with,
you should have learned how to write, mate.
I
made it a lot quicker.
Well, I'm dyslexic, so I'm like that's a bit harsh.
Is it? Switch that off, mate.
Yeah, I'll switch it off. No, it's been difficult to condense it and make it simple in a book.
Yeah.
That's the difficult bit because obviously when you write, it's hard to write about it. It's easy to talk about it, but it's hard to write about it to keep it simple. And we really wanted like a handbook, something simple that people flick through, learn how to do it, bam, go away and do it.
Yeah.
And this lady who's helped me write it, she's actually a proper writer. And she actually sent someone to me recently, last year, and this lady called me up, and I didn't know this until I spoke to her.
Would you call her a wordsmith?
Well, Kerry, she's a bit of a wordsmith. She can be a wordsmith. Yeah. But she recommended someone to me. This lady called me up, and she spoke to me, and I only spoke to her once, and I taught the DTO process over the phone. She couldn't come to me for whatever reason, so I just taught the basic DTO process. And when I saw Kerry the other day about the book, she said, "Oh my God, she's been flying ever since. You taught the process, she's been switching off things left, right, and centre." And she's done it herself. Which is fantastic, which means it does work really, really easily. So we want to make the book very simple, but to make it simple was a bit complicated. Yeah. So we've done lots of drafts, and it's taken us about a year, and of course she's busy and I'm busy. But it's finally its last draft, so very excited about that.
Yeah, good. I'm really pleased as well because I mean that's going to help lots of people that do obviously embrace that, take it on board and use it because I know how much it I use it when I'm changing people's life on a massive scale. So that must be great news. So okay. So outside of that, any recent successes that you'd like to talk about? Obviously, of any recognisable results from your clinic. Have you actually had anybody?
Yes. Well, I suppose because we're talking about dark thoughts and suicide. Yes, I've been treating a guy for 4 weeks. He did his first 4 session a month ago, I suppose, whenever he started. I'm not quite like you. I do an hour at a time. I do an hour a week. So it happens over.
When you say you're not quite like me, what do you actually mean by that?
You do really long, like 2 hour sessions.
Yeah, I will in some cases.
And you like to do that, whereas I do an hour once a week.
I like to try and clear the whole thing. I like to try and get the whole thing in one go.
Yeah. And I don't have the resource to be able to do that. I didn't set my clinic up that way, so it's tough for me to do that. But I've had this guy, and he's had depression for absolutely years, and I've known him for a while. I've known his partner for a long time. She was a colleague at one point, and he finally got so desperate just after Christmas or during Christmas. He had a really bad time, and he just had enough. He finally had enough. He was not willing to do it before. He wasn't ready, and he's finally had enough. He came to me, and he's a lot better. We switched off the dark thoughts he was having when he really wanted to commit suicide and things, and we switched off the memories that were causing the problem. And 4 weeks in, he's much better, and he's improving all the time.
Yeah.
And then we're going to start looking at reducing his medication at some point so he can come off of that and be okay with it. But we've reduced the thoughts all the way down, and he's feeling a lot better. So after having it for years and years, he's finally feeling better and moving forward.
Yeah, I mean,
great.
I mean, I don't want to step on here because I know it's your little bit, but there's a guy that I see, and he's had them all of his life, but he actually thinks that's who he is.
Yes.
And I've actually had to say to him, well, that's not actually true. It's not actually who you are. It's just they're actually being triggered and all the rest of it.
That's right, yeah.
So if you are having dark thoughts out there and you do have this stuff going on, realise it isn't actually who you are. It's just stuff that's going on at a subconscious level and things will pick up wrong way. But go on, carry on, please, mate.
So that was the main one I wanted to mention, because obviously that's what we're talking about, dark thoughts and things. And this morning, it's recent, but I switched off someone's vertigo for her. I'm seeing about something
Reaching
else.
new heights.
It is, yeah. I switched off her. We're switching off her shoulder pain. She had a massive shoulder injury, and I went to see her about that because we're fixing that. But when I saw her, she had vertigo that came on yesterday, and she's had bouts of it in the past. But I just showed her what the conflict was. I switched the conflict off. I then released the nerve from her neck and taught her what was really causing it, and she stood up and her balance was back again, and she wasn't wobbly, and she was like, oh my God, I'm back to normal again. Thank God for that, because she hates that feeling of sort of that woozy thing. So I know it's very recent, it was very brief, but that sort of stands out in my mind right now. My brain's actually really cluttered with so busy, so many clients and the book and everything, and this moving to clinic, I can't think of other things.
Good job we got Liam, mate. Then, mate.
I know.
Really,
but you've had an awesome week.
No, I've had three weeks. So since the last podcast, it's just been brilliant. I've got to say, this has probably been the most productive period I've had with people. I've had loads of people now reaching out to me. It's really, really, really increased, which is a bit weird because I think to a degree I was blocking that a little bit.
Yeah.
And we worked on something which we switched off. Since we switched that thing off, the floodgates have opened.
Yes, that's
and
right.
I'm attracting all these people. And so I've had 3 or 4 people that have come and had the seminar.
Yeah.
So that's where I teach them how the brain works, how the brain grows, how the brain works, how the subconscious works, basically the cause and effect of everything, in their mind, and why everything that's going on in the world is actually made up.
Yeah.
You just make up shit. And you believe it, and then you wonder, and then you try and fix the thing that you've made up.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, I do that." So I had 4 of those that were really successful, and at the end of it, I get to clear some of the stuff. So 4 of those. I've also had. I also got invited up to a ladies' company.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to Bedfordshire, and I spoke to the whole team there.
Yeah.
And I did the same thing. So I do the seminar thing there, but I did it for the whole team, and I've had. So
that went really well.
That went brilliant. Honestly, I was. I didn't have you there because generally,
you didn't need me there.
No, I didn't need you. Generally, we do this together, but I actually went up there and done that on my own this time, and it was just awesome. And the girls, the whole team, really were really lovely, really warm. Had quite a good bit of fun with them, a bit of laugh and a joke. The guy there, he was a Olympian. He was actually in the 2012 Olympics, and Nathan, and he's a lovely guy. He picked me up and we spoke about it all the way up there, and you know, and he was a bit frustrated that he hadn't met me before the 2012 Olympics because he could have done with my help.
Yeah.
But that would, you know, that's for another story, another day. But I went up there, done the team, and I got a message the next day, and basically I'd already, to a degree, changed a few people's lives. They listened to what I taught them, how the brain works, what they're doing, allowing things, making things not okay in their life. I did the whole communication model, the whole thing anyway. And so, I had a really massive impact there. And so that was really, really successful, and hopefully I'll go back there.
Yeah.
And
for those who don't know Stephen very well, that was a big thing for Steve, because when I first met him, he'd never really spoken to anyone. He'd not spoken to more than 5 people at once.
Yeah.
And he couldn't do it without shaking and nerves. And then we started doing talks together, he's learned, and to go off and do something on his own, a talk on his own to a group of people, massive thing.
I used to have a team of salespeople.
But you knew
I knew them. They were my staff.
Your staff, so you was the leader.
Exactly. But to go and talk to a load of strangers, so it doesn't faze me anymore now. It doesn't faze me, and we've done loads of talks since. So that's been great.
Hello to everyone who's messaging us, and hi. I can't see your names, but thank you for all your comments and things that you're saying. Thank you, appreciate that. I can't read who you are from this distance.
Yeah.
But you've
how kind of you, mate.
Yeah, I know. It's I'm just trying to be polite for them.
Yeah, no.
Let them know we can see them.
Yes.
But you've also had a couple of good successes.
Yeah.
With a couple of people. Yeah, mentioned.
So I'm going to see I've just tweaked the way I'm doing things.
Yes.
So we were talking about that.
Yeah, we're talking about it. Yeah, it's brilliant. What he's done is I'm going to start nicking his ideas now, because he's coming up with ideas that I didn't even think of. So
I've just tweaked what I've started doing.
Yeah.
And I just thought, hang on, there's a better way I can tweak this. So I did, and it's just worked amazing. And so we'll go. I had one lady come and saw me, so we'll go to the dark thoughts and the suicidal thoughts thing. A friend phoned me up, said, I've got a friend, she's tried to commit suicide twice yesterday.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get her to come and see you, but she won't come and see you because she doesn't realise what we do. She doesn't actually realise that we can actually, she's been having counselling for months and months and months and months, and it's just basically made her worse.
Right.
Yeah. So, and I said, well, you need to tell her I'm not a counsellor. I'm not a counsellor. I'm going to find out what the conflict or the problem is and switch it off. Anyway, in the end, she contacted me. I then made an appointment to see her. I said, look, I can't see you until tomorrow at 2:00. And she said, I need to see you now. I said, can't do it till 2:00 tomorrow because I've got these people. I said, the earliest I can do is tomorrow. I can fit you in there. So anyway, bless her. She turned up and she was a mess. She was in a really bad way, bless her. And she was feeling very, very suicidal. And within about an hour and a quarter of working with her, I'd found out. So what I did is I just asked, what is it that's causing you? What's making you want to end your life? She told me 4 things. And so I went to each of those 4 topics, or those 4 themes that was making her feel like, one was around her child, one was around her job, one was around her ex-partner, money, all of these things. So I just broke them down, went to each individual one and just switched them off one at a time, all of them, all the guilt, the shames, the alone responses and the beliefs. Once I got rid of all of those 4 things, literally she sat back after the 4th one, she said, took a big deep breath and she went, oh my God, she goes, I feel like I've got my life back again. Yeah. The walls aren't closing in anymore. Yeah. And it didn't take that long to do. Now, bearing in mind, she was very, very suicidal. Like literally twice she tried 2 days before. Yeah. And so within an hour, I got rid of all of that. And when she left there, she just basically, gave me the biggest hug on the doorstep, and she's literally skipping down the path. Oh, so, but I have contacted her since, and she has said to me, I've had a few of the suicidal thoughts come back. But I did say to her, look, where you're at right now, that's going to take a bit of time. You need to get. So for me to reduce it by 50%, I reckon around 50%, in 1 hour. In 1 hour is very good. Exactly. Now she's hardly getting the thoughts at all. They're just popping in. So I said, once I clear those other bits, you won't feel suicidal. It will just be gone. Yeah. So that, for me, was really good. I felt really great after that one. Because I know that I was a bit concerned before she turned up, because I knew how, when you're in a position where you want to sort of end your life, and I know I've been there, I know the depth that you're at, and I'm thinking, is she going to take the information on? Is she going to just be so in that victim mindset that she doesn't want to change? Like, I'd all made up all this stuff, but she was brilliant. She'd come here, she just really wanted to get rid of those feelings, and she just went bang, 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 got rid of them. And I was I was chuffed to bits. It was like, I felt really, really good after that. That's like, I'd probably say that's the one that I've done out of everything that's given me the most relief, because I just know how, when somebody's that close, the last thing you want them to do is leave and then find out the next day that, you know.
Well, when they're right on the edge like that.
Right on the edge.
I mean, that's a tipping point. I mean, you know.
That's where she was.
Yeah.
But within 1 hour, totally now, and you think she's got a young child, and the impact that's been able to have on that child, on the family, on everything, just because I was able to find out those things and switch them off. That's why it made me feel really great. That's I know it's for her, but for me, I felt really good about that.
That's amazing. Really, you helped someone that, you know, was previously not being helped, and and she was at the end of her tether. She was at the last. Yeah, and she thanked me and she sent me some messages, and she's already come back to see me Tuesday. So great.
I'll get rid of that last little bit, and now she's got her life back, and she's got her child back, and hopefully she'll start living a healthier, happier life again. Yeah. So really, really good. And also, there was another girl that come and saw me, Zoe. She's an amazing girl. She had a little bit of a blip in her life, and she fell into a bit of depression. She stopped seeing me, and then she's got coming to see me, and then she fell back into the hole because we didn't clear all of the stuff. But she was really struggling where she was living, with a job, with money, and all the rest of it. Anyway, so she come to me. She was just in physical pain.
Right.
She wasn't in a good place. She was in physical pain. She couldn't get out of bed. She'd lost all of her motivation. She was in a really dark place. And if you know how bubbly she is, that's not like her.
No.
And so anyway, she come to me and said, I really need to come and see you again. I need to get... So anyway, within an hour and a half, I'd switched off all of her stuff. She's having a problem where she was living. And there was loads of stuff around where she was living, about how she was feeling, about not being able to get up or do anything, not doing her job, and, you know, just generally being completely flat.
Yeah.
And she left me within 2 hours. She'd phoned me up. She'd sorted out everything. So as soon as I switched all of the stuff off, she got a new place to live. She got all of her energy back.
Yeah.
She'd arranged something with her dog to look after her dog, and she'd got all of her. She's also moving back here. She's already decided to move back here. Now she's got all of her clients. Great. So within just an hour and a quarter, she's gone from being in a complete doom and gloom, and now she's all of a sudden got her life back.
Okay.
So another one that was a really one good for me, because it didn't take me long.
No.
All I did was to find out what it was, and now she's gone from being there to there. So. And if you're watching Zoe, you know what I'm talking about.
Amazing.
So that's a great,
And
then there's been quite a lot of people that I've been with relationships. You know, I've had a lot of people that have come to me.
I've had that as well. I've had a lot of people with
relationships. And I think people now are starting to come to terms that that things that no longer emotionally serve them that aren't working for you. And and I say this all the time, we make things okay that aren't okay.
Yeah.
And especially if you're in a habitual relationship.
Yes.
So if you've been in a relationship for a long time, and the old bloke or the woman, or the missus gets used to talking to you in a certain way that elicits negative feelings, being, moody, wrong, what's the word I'm looking for? Demeaning, very, very oppressive, very lack of respect, and just all these things that you can fall into over a period of time, because we do make things okay that aren't okay. There gets a point where somebody's just had enough, but they find themselves stuck in the relationship. They might have children, they might have situations, or they're stuck. And they don't want to move out because they don't know what they're going to leave behind.
Yeah.
They're scared of what they're going to lose rather than what they're going to gain.
Yeah.
And so they get stuck and trapped there. But I think now people are starting to come to the terms where actually they no longer want that habitual, stereotypical thing of what the parents wanted you to have, what your relationship should look like.
Yes.
Or how it should be, or what your friends' expectations of how your relationship works. There's so much fakeness out there. There is so much fakeness, and that's making people unhappy. And I think people are now starting to wake up to that, and they're now starting to take their power back and going, do you know what? This isn't working for me. And so they're now empowering themselves. They're moving on. And I've worked with lots of people now that have come out of those relationships, and now I'm switching off all of their beliefs around it and all of the crap that's gone around it, and now they feel like they've got their energy back and they've got their zest back for life.
Yeah.
So I've had quite a lot of stuff around relationships, really, which I've been clearing out, so I've had so much good stuff. The lady with the pain as well. I mean, I could sit here for an hour talking about what I've done in the last couple of weeks, but this isn't really about, maybe we really want to talk about the podcast. But I got there's a lady who's phoned me up who's in pain, and I was able to reduce that just by switching off she felt so alone.
Yeah.
She was on her own. She was so alone. She's very elderly, with a lot of pain in her leg. And I was able to reduce that massively. Unfortunately, I couldn't finish the whole thing off because someone had turned up whilst she was in the process, and now that pain's come back a little bit because I haven't cleared the whole thing.
But once you know, it'll go.
Yeah, she said it's reduced massively. So to help her reduce her pain just by, and that was over the telephone.
It's amazing. So, I know, it's incredible what you do over the phone. It's just knowing the right information. You can do so much. Yeah. I often treat people in emergencies over the phone. And you just switch things off over the phone, they go back and they're fine.
Yeah.
So,
And it's really difficult for people to actually realise or understand that that's possible.
It's so difficult. I had put that aside a second, I had a lady come to me in physical pain, and I didn't do any emotional caring at all. She came to me with physical pain. She'd been seeing a chiropractor for ages and ages, lower back pain, side of her leg pain. And she was completely sceptical. She actually sat there and said, I said, so we'll do this and this. And she said, I'm sceptical, I don't really believe. I said, that's all right, everyone is. But I didn't do any detail. I just put her on the table. I did what the body work I do. And she got up and she sat down, got dressed, sat down in front of me and said, I've got to say I'm a lot better. I really hate to say it. She was actually hated to say that she was a lot better. She was like 50-60% better from one treatment. Whereas she was seeing, a chiropractor for
it just seems to me people are more worried about their opinions and their thoughts about something rather than actually solving the problem.
Yeah. I know.
No, I don't know. I'd rather be in pain because I don't really think it's going to work. What do you mean you don't think it's going to work? You're just making up stuff. You'd rather be in pain than,
It's because people try so many things and they think everything is the same as everything else. They don't understand the difference.
I think at a deeper level we're all insane.
Oh, well, I would agree with that. I would agree that at a deep level we are actually quite insane. I'm pretty insane myself, so that's okay. Yeah. Which actually leads us quite nicely into the podcast.
It does.
The dark thoughts, because when people have dark thoughts they think they're going mad.
Yeah.
You're not going mad, but they think they're going mad, and you think you can't control the thoughts and you don't want to have the thoughts, and so you end up wanting to do something silly or stupid because you can't change the way you're thinking. I know that I've been there, not necessarily from a suicidal point of view, from a different point of view, and Steve's definitely been there from a suicidal point of view, haven't you?
Yeah, unfortunately I have.
So we're going to talk about, Steve's going to tell you how he felt when he went through it, but let's just briefly talk about dark thoughts. So dark thoughts, they're not just suicidal thoughts. Dark thoughts are anything that you're thinking that you don't think you should be thinking or don't want to be thinking. So anything that really frightens you of what you're thinking, it would be considered dark thoughts or an obsessive thought. And so you might think the worst thing in the world. And as human beings, we actually do often think about the worst things, and they're just normally fleeting thoughts.
Yeah.
And sometimes we beat ourselves up about that, but that's just actually kind of human curiosity.
Yeah.
But sometimes, if our brain thinks a thought, sometimes we can go, oh my God, why do I think that? And then you can get looked on this loop.
Yep.
And you can then get really stuck with it and go, oh my God, why was I thinking that? And the more you analyse and play it, it can then become a dark thought, and you can't get rid of it. They can also be created through trauma as well and shock. Yeah. And they can also be created through feeling alone. But dark thoughts don't have to be suicidal. I remember a few years ago.
So back in the day, many, many, many years ago, I was a very angry person.
Yeah.
And I used to have really dark thoughts about what I wanted to do. If I felt there was an injustice, I'd, imagine all these really nasty things that I'd want to,
Yeah.
And it would frighten me. And I'd think, there was something wrong with me. Because, I'd actually think that, there was actually something wrong with me. And I was going to end up, being the next mass murderer because I was just so angry. But it's only in that moment that I think that.
That's right. And that's what happens. We have a thought, and then we think that we're going to become the thing we're thinking about. And what can happen is, yes, the dark thoughts can create that person, but they're not who you are. So it's important to switch it off, because I think sometimes that's how violent people become violent people, because they have the thoughts, they go out and do it, then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
So I didn't have it quite like you, but about 3 years ago when a relationship broke up, I was absolutely heartbroken. And for the first time in my life ever, I'm the most angry person. Boring. I'm the most boring person ever. I'm hugely boring, uninteresting, dull, bit pathetic.
Yeah.
You really don't.
That's why I like you, mate.
That's why you like me. Yeah. I make you look good, didn't I? I make you look exciting. I tell you.
Yeah.
But for the first time in my life, I actually wanted to kill this person. I'm the most harmless person in the world. I gave up martial arts because I didn't like hurting people. So I don't like hurting people. And but the way I was perceiving this situation with this person, I was just devastated. And for the first time in my life, for about a week, I actually wanted to kill this person. And I've never actually wanted... You know, we all say, oh, I could kill you, off the cuff. But I've never actually genuinely wanted to kill somebody. I wanted to kill this person. And it scared me. It shocked me.
Frightened you.
It shocked me because I'm like, well, that's not me.
Yeah.
I'm not like that. I'm more of a let it go, kind of after a while I let it go, switch it off. But that scared me. I was like, wow, because I literally could feel that I could actually murder this person. And I was like, wow, that's not me. So from that point of view, that was really scary. I didn't have it long. I switched it off. So I was very lucky in that respect that I could switch it off because I knew it wasn't me. But I can see that if I'd kept that conflict running, I could see how a man would actually become violent towards a woman. Because I'm not condoning it. I'm saying that if I hadn't switched it off, that
would have been the trigger.
That would have been the trigger to behave that way.
Yeah.
All the people out there who do bad things, it's not because of who they are, it's because they've been triggered by something. Yeah. I'm not excusing people who've done bad things. Don't write into me and say blah, blah, blah. Don't. But what I'm saying is all these people who do bad things or things that we judge and criticise as bad, no matter what it is, they've been triggered by something.
Well, it's a cause and effect again.
It's a cause and effect.
Yeah.
I don't actually believe we're born bad people. I know some people do, but often the reason people believe that we're born bad is because they're frightened that it could happen to them.
Yeah.
So they have to believe.
And also, they don't understand how the
they don't understand how the mind works.
They just make shit up.
It's not actually how the mind works. I've known really good people do some really random things, not because they weren't good people, but because they've been triggered by something and it's sent them over the edge. And things can happen like that. Now, I was very fortunate I could switch it off, and I've never had the thought since, I do not want to kill this person. It's totally okay. I hope, wherever she's happy. But I don't... but in that moment, it was very scary.
Yeah.
And so that was really my kind of...
So I must,
one of the dark thoughts I've had over my life.
I have quite an achievement, because going through my life, the amount of things that have happened to me, and I've not killed anybody.
You've not killed anyone?
No, I've not even acted violent from it either.
No, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Because that, as I said, that can be the core, and it doesn't mean you're going to. It doesn't mean you're going to act on the thought.
Yeah.
I think some people do, some people don't.
Yeah.
But either way, it's triggered by something.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you're going to act on it. But it does. It doesn't mean you're a bad person either. So if someone has gone and done something bad, it's not who they are. That they're reacting from a trigger. Yeah. Even if you're just having a thought, you're still reacting from a trigger. It's no different, really, to being triggered to eat chocolate every time you see it. It's actually no different. You're running an obsessive compulsive conflict that you can't stop thinking about, except eating chocolate is not harmful to somebody else.
Yeah.
But actually, technically, it's the same frigging thing.
Yeah.
And people don't realise that.
Yeah.
And if you've never had dark thoughts, or you've never had thoughts about something that you think you want to do, but you don't really because it's not who you are, you will not understand this. You will think I'm talking nuts. You'll think I'm talking rubbish. But believe me, one of my mates, he used to say to me when I used to talk about people with depression and things, he used to say, I don't know why I don't just build a bridge and get over it.
Yeah.
Until something happened to him that he couldn't cope with, and then he went depressed.
Yeah.
And then he couldn't build a bridge and get over it. Yeah. But he'd never understood it till he was in it.
I think the problem is there's so much misinformation out there. So when we go back to depression, there's so much misinformation about depression. Oh, depression's living in the past and anxiety's living in the future.
That's not true.
So many people. It's not true. Exactly, it's not true. But there's a belief out there, and I hear it on podcasts, I hear it from high-level people in authority who think they know what they're talking about, because they want to have their ego, because they want to sound like they know what they've got a good take on the mind, and they've got... The problem is that misinformation, there's so much misinformation about that. And the problem is, the other issue is that when we take that information on board and believe from it, when we are created in that scenario, that's where we'll go from. Well, I don't know, I just don't get a bridge. It's only don't live in the past. Just stop going thinking about it. But that isn't depression. So now all of a sudden there's an illusion of what depression is.
That's right.
And everyone's perception of depression is incorrect, and therefore everybody's conversation and therefore the information is incorrect. And that's why you'd have people like your friend turn around and say, well, just build a bridge and get over it, because the perception is that's what you can actually do. Yeah. And that's incorrect. And the same thing with anxiety. And I have this with a lot of people, and because. Well, anyway, I don't want to go, but that's so I just wanted to come in there because I think it's an important thing to discuss because, you know, I say this a lot. There's so many people out there on Facebook talking about mental health, right, who don't actually really. I know they want to help and they want to do their bit, but they don't know what they're talking about, and unfortunately, I know nothing about cars, but I don't every day post stuff on how to fix cars because I don't know anything about cars and I don't know how to fix cars, right? I've got no interest, so I don't post. So my invitation is, if you don't really know what you're talking about when it comes to the mind and mental health,
don't talk about it.
Stop posting stuff because it's misleading and it keeps people stuck and it keeps people trapped and it gives them a misunderstanding of what real mental health or what these are. That's my biggest problem. That, you know,
and the other thing is,
too many beliefs.
It's too many beliefs. The other thing is, I say to people, if you're looking for an expert in something, there's a way to determine whether someone's an expert in something. So this is my model for how someone's an expert. If you're looking for an expert in something, whatever it is, an expert is someone who's either had it themselves and got rid of it, and sold it in at least 10 people.
Yeah.
If they haven't, if they've got it themselves but they've still got it, not an expert. If they've sold it themselves but they haven't done it to anyone else, well, they understand a little bit but not necessarily an expert. Yeah. They've got to have sold it in themselves and sold it in 10 people, or they've just sold it in multiple people, 10 or 20 people. They might not have had it themselves, but they've sold it in multiple people. If they're just going on talking about it, telling you to maintain or cope with it, or that you can't, that's not solving it. Everything out there can be solved. Every illness, every disease can be solved. We just don't look to solve it, we look to maintain it. And that's where...
or not make it any worse.
And that's where the problem comes in play.
See, the other thing as well is a lot of these things that we do, external, like the yoga stuff and the crystal and all these things that we do.
Yeah.
What we do is we then have a belief that we're doing something about it, and it gives us a feel-good factor.
Yes.
And that feel-good factor now overrides the actual current issue.
Yeah.
The current issue is always there. So you have to keep doing this thing over and over and over and over and over and over again, because as soon as you stop doing it, the feeling comes back. But all the time you keep doing this thing, you believe that you're solving the problem.
Yeah,
but actually, but you're not.
No.
You're not. And this is my issue. I got a lady that comes to see me. She's been a therapist for a very, very long time, and she's having real trouble now because it's challenged her whole paradigm of existence, her identity, because she's such a lovely person and she really wants to help people and she's been doing it for 40 years. But then when I explained to her what's really going on, it's really challenged her, because now her whole belief system, her whole business, her whole world, all the thing that she thinks she knows is now, to a certain degree, fallen apart.
Yeah.
Because she's built all of this stuff off on all of this secondary stuff, the doing stuff, they're going to the spa, they're having that's healing. No, it's not healing. No. That's having a massage.
Exactly.
Having crystals in your room and changing the energy doesn't heal you. It's the healing comes on the inside. It's an internal thing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of belief systems and stuff there that's challenged her. But I know for a fact that she will go on to do bigger and better things because of it. But at the moment, she's stuck in this belief system that thinks that healing is an external thing.
Yes, that's right.
And the healing isn't an external thing.
No,
the
healing always comes from inside.
Yeah,
always comes from inside you. And you may get some results with the external things. They may help a bit. But if it's not solving the problem completely, that's what me and Steve are about. We're about getting rid of the problem and solving it completely, not just maintaining and coping with it. So if you are suffering a problem, if you are suffering depression and you're only maintaining it, that's not working. You need to find something to get rid of it, because when I had depression, it was horrible. I absolutely hated it. I went in and out of it for years. I didn't ever really get very low with it like Steve did. I mean, you got really... you was all over the place with it when I met you.
Well, I'll tell you why, and I know why now as well.
You know why now, yeah. But I just went in and out of it, and I know why I was going in and out of it now, and I get that, but I didn't at the time. But I hated feeling that way, and I didn't want to feel that way, and I always kept searching for an answer, and I'm a bit stubborn like that. I'll keep searching for an answer. So before we get on to Steve's story about his depression, because his was deep, he wanted to commit suicide.
Yeah. I come very close.
Yeah. When you're dealing with suicidal thoughts or dark thoughts, the most common response that's creating that is a feeling of loss. So the feeling of loss is the thing that creates the worst problems. It doesn't just create depression, dark thoughts, it creates loads of things. But certainly in this case, depression, suicide, dark thoughts, you're feeling a loss of something. Now that you may know immediately what that is, or it may be hidden, because some losses are external and some losses are internal, but they create the same thing. So for a man's sense of loss can come from losing his work or fear of losing his work in the future. So depression can actually be future-based.
Yeah, the company's going to shut down.
Company's going to shut down, so you're now fear of loss of money, loss of job, loss of purpose. Now man gets depressed.
We might get redundant.
Yeah, that's right. So that's the loss conflict. It kicks in before it's happened.
Yeah.
So when people say depression's in the past, no, it can be in the future.
Exactly.
Because it's a loss.
Exactly my point.
It's a loss conflict.
Exactly my point.
You're worried about a loss in the past. Now, it can be, equally, that you've lost someone in the past. And maybe your brother passed away, or your dad, or your partner, or you, and it's not even a grief necessarily, like a death. It can be a loss of a relationship,
loss of a job, because someone's stolen your car, you lose your car. Or
from a lot of people, loss of purpose is the worst thing. Once you feel you've lost your purpose, now you have a problem. So, and that goes for men and women as well. A loss of purpose is a big thing. We need purpose in this world, or a sense of something, and unless you go really deep and switch it off, then you don't need that. But most people, most humans, they need to feel they're doing something. So it can be loss of something external, but likewise it can be loss of something internal, like a loss of peace, a loss of respect, a loss of love, a loss of joy, a loss of happiness.
Motivation's a big one.
Motivation, a loss of sanity. A lot of people, when they're hearing those thoughts, they think they're going nuts. They feel like they've lost their sanity.
I think there's also a loss of love.
Loss of love, very
massive
important.
Loss of love, loss of happiness, loss of purpose,
loss of hope.
Loss of hope. Yeah, they're the ones that really take you into that. What's the point? Yeah. What's the point? I don't see any point.
No, there's no point. And as Steve said, once you get to that point, that's when you start having those thoughts.
Yeah.
So it's a feeling of loss. So if you're experiencing it right now, or whatever you're experiencing, just ask, what's the feeling of loss? Because that's what you're going through. Now, obviously, you do need a way to switch it off, but that's all it is. It's a feeling of loss. Now, that loss is not actually real. Now, you may say, well, I'm losing the thing externally to me, like the partner, and I get that, but it's actually the internal feeling about that that's the problem, not what actually happens around us. So although you may lose something around you...
Yeah, but externally you might use the partner, but internally you're using love in the relationship.
That's right, exactly.
It's a two-way thing. It's an inside and an outside.
So the external thing you're losing is not the problem. It's as Steve says, it's the loss of love, it's the loss of connection, the loss of a future.
Security.
There's loads of it. It's all of those things. It's that feeling of loss that's the problem. And a lot of what me and Steve do now is just switch off the feeling of loss with people. Yeah. And once you do, as a huge thing, it lifts off so many things because you're no longer running around with that thing running anymore. And that's why you can easily switch off those suicidal thoughts.
Yeah, well, I knew exactly what to do. I knew exactly where to go, and I find most of it's to an alone response generally. Yeah. So when we have that alone response where we just feel we're all alone and no one can help us and we're just on our own, it's generally to do with a loss, and I just need to find what's the conflicts of losses, get rid of them, and there'll be lots of them, but. You know, and but the thing is, there's guilt and shame in those as well. So it is quite complicated, although it's easy. But
it's complicated to explain, but actually in the process, it's very easy, and you don't need to worry about that. Yeah. So basically, we're going to come to Steve's story in a second. But basically, it's just a feeling of loss. That's the main issue. So think about, and it may just be an internal feeling. And you know, when I was working with that guy this week, that guy said who's been depressed for years. Yeah. Underneath that loss, one of the guilts. Now, this guy is a very grounded person. He's not spiritual. He's not a therapist. He's not religious. Very grounded guy, very basic. And the guilt that came up really surprised him, because the guilt that came up under the loss was he feels guilty for existing. Now that is normally... anyone who's not suffering depression will look at that and go, that's insane. Why would anyone believe that? How can you feel guilty for existing? And that's actually a typical spiritual belief, or guilt that kicks in. But he actually had this, and once we switched that off, a lot of it lifted surrounding the situation. So these things are really subtle, and he had no idea that was there, and he thought it was weird, but it popped in his head. And so the loss conflict is very important, and the guilt and shames under it, really, really important to get to that. And but if you just think, what's the feeling of loss? Just knowing that will help you lift it a little bit. Yeah. Because half the problem with those kind of thoughts
is they don't know why they're feeling that way.
You don't know why you're feeling that way. Once you know why you're feeling it, you can come out of it by 10-15%, and then you can do something about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was there.
Yeah, and you were there. And when I found Steve, although he wasn't technically suicidal anymore, he still wasn't happy, joyful, bouncing around, wanting to go and do things. No. And so, just because you were so dark at one point, just describe when you was in that. How did that feel? What were you going through?
It's really difficult to explain the feeling, but I basically just didn't want to exist. So I just basically didn't. So I'd laid in bed most of the day. Well, the only time I got out of bed was to go to the toilet and to eat. And I just basically I just literally hid under the pillow. And that went on for about 2 months. And I was trying to work. The reason I was trying to work out how I could get out or get my life back again, because at that point I had lost so much. So I'd lost every single area of my life. So if you think about every area in your life, so I'd lost my son. Yeah. My partner decided to walk out on my birthday and go to Ireland. She took my son. Yeah. I'd lost my business. I'd lost all my money. I'd had loads of money stolen. I'd lost my home. I'd lost my car. I'd lost all my friends at the time decided to so I lost my income. Yeah. Which was a really high, a lot of money I was earning.
A lot of money, weren't you?
I was making a lot of money. That just stopped overnight. And I lost all my friends. Just decided to then disappear as well. And then there was lots of other stuff that was going on in the background about the business. So that all happened in a 3-week period. So all of that in a 3-week period.
Yeah, that's an intense amount of losses in a 3-week period.
Yeah, but you've also got to understand that that's just one instance. Because prior to that, I'd also had many other things. This had already happened to me 7 years before. I'd lost a daughter. I'd already had another relationship fail, and I'd lost my 3 girls. Yeah. I'd also lost someone before that who was the apple of my eye. I lost her. So then there was all the other stuff. There was so much throughout my whole life. But the thing is that I was brought up that to be a man, to man up, and every time something bad happened, you bounced back. You brushed yourself down and you didn't let it bother you, and you just bounced back. And that's what I did. So I was resilient as hell. I was one resilient, tough. I'd like tougher than anyone I'd know because of what I'd been through. Right. But then all of a sudden, there comes a point when this last one, it was so big. I mean, it was a multi-million-pound business that I'd built. Right. And all of that goes overnight. And with all of the other, losing my boy, my son, and all the rest of it, that crashed. It was like all of the past had sort of concertinaed up into this present moment. Yeah. And then I'm laying in my bed and I'm thinking, what's the point? I've lost I've lost the person that I really loved. I've lost my relationship. I've lost my children. I've lost my car. I've lost my business. Lost my money. Lost my partner. It's all that lost. I'd lost this. I'd lost the will to live. All of it was lost. And that's when I got to the point where I just couldn't function. I literally couldn't think. I literally couldn't do anything other than the basic thing like going to the toilet and eating. Yeah. That's where I got to. Anything else other than that was a problem. And that went on for 6 weeks to 2 months. And I remember then laying in bed, and I was in my head, laying in bed, thinking, what can I do? How can I get my life back? But every time I thought of doing anything, it always come back to me losing it. There's no point, because if I have a relationship, it's going to go wrong, I'm going to lose it anyway. No point setting a business up because I'm going to get screwed over, I'm going to lose my money, and there's no point doing this, there's no point having any children, there's no point having a house, I'm going to lose it all. So it didn't matter what I did, my brain went, well, there's no point because you're going to lose it. Yeah. And I got stuck in this loop and I just couldn't see a way out at all. I had nobody, none of my friends apart from 1 or 2 were there to support me, and I did have what I called a lot of friends, which obviously you find out in your times of need. They know what you find out your friends are, and nobody was there for me. So I was very, very alone at the time, and I just remember going to my mum's and my dad's, and I said, "I'm not being a victim here, but that's it. I'm done. The game of life for me ain't working, and." I couldn't see a way out. No. And I said, I'm going to tell you because I don't want you to find out from PC, Wishbone, whatever his name would be.
PC Wishbone?
I don't know. Yeah, but I didn't want them to find out that way. I didn't want them to find out that way. It'd be more of a shock than me saying, right, this is going to happen. At least they know, and they knew the reasons why. But that's where I'd really got, and I had decided. And the only reason it didn't happen is because I couldn't think of I sort of did have it all planned. I couldn't think of a way where it was guaranteed.
What do you mean?
Well, I couldn't think of a way where it was going to be guaranteed.
Oh, I see.
Do you know what I mean? I didn't want to end up...
So your lack of confidence in doing it successfully actually stops you doing it.
Yeah, well, it wasn't that. It was just that I was thinking, what's going to be the best way? Because I didn't want to be ended up living after it.
No.
You know,
you didn't suffer.
So I decided the train was going to be the only way to do it, and it didn't happen. But I literally made it. I played it through in my head over and over and over and over again. I imagined it. I actually felt like what it was going to be like and all the rest of it. I really conditioned myself to doing it. That's how far it got. Fortunately enough,
yes, thank God.
One thing led to another, and something my mum said to me, well, if you could change the way you feel, you wouldn't want to do it. And I said, I've done all the counselling, done all the therapies, you can't change the way you feel. And that's when the journey started, and that was what. Right. In the last 7 or 8 years, I've just learned all about the mind, and now I'm. So I can do it, but really dark times, really dark.
So at the moment, you didn't believe you could change how you feel.
Yeah.
What have you learned since?
That's absolute nonsense.
Great.
I know it's nonsense because I have changed the way I feel.
Great, thank you. That's
and not only have I changed the way I feel better now than I've ever felt ever in my life. So right. That's like I'm just a completely different person. I behave differently. I act differently. I feel differently.
Yeah.
But I also know because the amount of people I help to change the way they feel.
Yeah.
So I know it can be done.
Yeah.
So it goes against everything that we're taught and told.
So
it can change the way you feel. I've done it massively successfully, and I think together we've helped a lot of people now from that through what Jonathan's developed.
But it hasn't been like an overnight change. In your case, it's taken you time to change how you feel.
I think
you've had to work at it.
I've actually probably dedicated. I would probably say in the last 18 months, I've done 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
So 2 hours a day, every day I go in and I switch off all of this stuff. Because I've had so much happen to me over that period of time.
Yeah.
So it's taken a long time. For most people, it doesn't take that long.
No.
But I wouldn't think anyone's really been through the same amount of trauma as I have. There's been so much of it.
The more stuff you've been to, the longer it takes.
There's so much of it
to clear that.
There's so much of it, and it's taken a long time to work through each of those things. Yeah. But I've done it. I ain't stopped. I've been like a dog with a bone, and I ain't stopped. And I'm glad I've done that now because I'm now in this position here, doing the podcast, helping people, and feeling the way I feel. Really, I mean, it's amazing. But
so it's an important lesson that Steve really believed that you couldn't change how you feel, and so many people believe that you cannot change how you feel or what you think, and that is complete nonsense, complete rubbish. You can change how you feel. In a lot of cases it's really quick. In some cases like Stephen it takes a little bit longer. In a case like me it takes longer. I've had to work through my stuff that I couldn't fix before. And in other people it takes longer, but often with most people, with a good 60-70% of people, they heal very, very quickly. Within a few weeks or a few hours, their problem has reduced or completely gone. And
well, take the girl that I speak on Thursday.
Yeah.
I mean, she wanted to end her life. And within an hour, I've reduced that by 50%.
Yeah.
I know it's 50%. I know there's stuff there and she's still thinking about it, but it's gone from that to that. So it goes to show how quickly you can move from that in just an hour.
And the other problem is that people think that what they feel is based on what's happening around them. And this is not true. What you feel has nothing to do with what's going on around you. Yeah. You are feeling that way about what's happening because of a program you're running from the past.
Yeah.
You're running that feeling because something happened in the past and you're now automatically feeling it based on what's happening. But that can be changed. The person I worked with the other day, she is worrying about her daughter who's going through a separation. And what it's coming from is her mum when she was younger, where she didn't feel loved.
It's all programmed.
So she was panicking about her daughter's kids not feeling loved, whereas in reality it was about her not feeling loved by her mum. And that's where the program was coming from. It's being projected onto her own daughter.
Passed on down the line. Yeah.
So once we switched that off, she didn't have the same response towards her daughter anymore, and she was much more laid back and easy going with it. But that's where it comes from. It's not about what's happening around us, although it really does feel like that, and I get that. I've been there. But actually, our internal feelings have nothing to do with the external thing around us. It's normally based on our past. Yeah. And that can be changed. And the other reason it can be changed, as I say to everybody, it's not just me and Steve saying it can be changed. The reason it can be changed is because you're in fight and flight.
Yeah.
Fight and flight is a biological response that can be switched off. If you are holding an emotion or a thought for longer than a week or 3 months, depending on what it is, you are now in fight and flight. And fight and flight can be switched off, and that's all me and Steve do is switch off fight and flight.
Yeah.
All normal emotions, all natural, healthy emotions that we have as human beings dissipate within a very short space of time, and the person is just left in that fight and flight state.
Yeah. Well said, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Quite literally, fantastic. Right. Yeah, so anyway, I hope that's sort of like giving you a good idea that, where dark thoughts come from and how and why, and actually what's actually achievable, because, just from my own personal experience and through what I've lost over the years and what I've been through drove me to that point. And now just I'd probably say to that point in just really 2 years, I suppose, I have worked hard at it, but that's where I am now. I'm the best I've ever been. It's the best I've ever been. Yeah. I can't tell you how I feel because it's very difficult to tell you how you feel, but I feel like I've been cleansed from the inside out, and and so that's actually what's achievable.
That's what's achievable, yeah.
But a lot of people have a belief that it isn't achievable, and they have all these beliefs about who, what, how, and when, and what's caused it. And the problem is we do make a lot of stuff up, and we get stuck there. And so I just wanted to say that, because all you need to do is really reach out to either Jonathan and myself, or we can find out, like with laser guided accuracy, what the conflict is, why you're feeling that way. Not just about dark thoughts and suicide, but pretty much anything. We can find exactly what it is and literally just pull it out, switch it off, and it's gone. And it's no longer in your life. You literally have it removed from your life, and you're now living a healthier, happier life. And so that's actually what's achievable. That's what's possible, and that's what I want for everybody. If only they would give themselves the opportunity or allow themselves to have it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't. They don't believe in it, or they're frightened of it. They're actually frightened of being happy. They get stuck, they get trapped, and they're frightened of actually liberating themselves from the prison.
Some people. So I work with some people who are quite complicated, and sometimes people will come to me, and their fear about actually not having the problem actually stops them continuing the treatment. And it's like, well, you can, because fear kicks in about letting go of what you've had for a long time, because a lot of people, they've built their whole world. And I had a client like this many years ago with chronic pain. She'd had CRPS, chronic regional
Come on, mate, spit it out.
Chronic regional pain syndrome for a long time. I couldn't say it. And when we went to clear it, she would really shake and convulse coming on and onto the Skype sessions.
Yeah.
And because she was so petrified about what she would do once she got rid of it.
Yeah.
And because she built a whole life around it. And it's the same with anxiety or depression, or because we've had it for so long, it's like, if someone actually gets rid of it, what the hell am I going to do?
Who am I?
Who am I without it?
It's your identity.
Yeah, exactly. So it becomes your identity. Yeah. So you kind of have to be careful, and some people can sabotage themselves because that runs.
Yeah, I was going to say, so there's a girl that comes and sees me. She comes and sees me every fortnight. She's got a lot of stuff from her past, and over a period of time, I've been getting it, switching off. She's getting better and better and better. Yeah. And I was talking about law of attraction, and I was talking about how to create things you want in your life, how to bring it in. She's going, about rubbish. So anyway, I taught her about it. I told her how it works. I taught her about it, and I said to her, tell me one thing that you really want in her life. And she went, I just want to be happy. I said, okay, so think about, create an imaginary scene. So imagine being happy with the thing that you want. What's the negative response that come up? Oh, I'm not allowed to be happy. No. So straight away, the thought of her being happy was sabotaged because she's not allowed to be happy, or she doesn't deserve to be happy, or she's not good enough, and why should I be happy and no one else? And there was a whole load of stuff. The one thing that all she wants, like anybody else, is just to be happy.
Yeah.
But just the thought of it, there was about 20 reasons why not to. And I said, that's the reason why you're not happy. The reason you're not happy is because all of this stuff prevents you from being happy.
Yeah.
Once you get rid of all of this stuff, once I've switched all that stuff up now, then she now has given herself permission to be happy.
Yeah.
When most people don't do that, they have this imaginary thing that they're not allowed to, or they're not good enough, because they spent their whole life making stuff up, or or conforming to a social contract, staying in a relationship because their mum. What would my mum say if I left? They'll stay there. They'd rather stay in a painful situation and then liberate themselves and be happy, or they'd rather stay with their depression because they're too ashamed of asking for help.
Yes,
there's so many of these things. So when you can actually realise that that's just in your head and it's not true, you can liberate yourself from that. Then all of a sudden your life starts to work for you. But that's the sabotage that goes on a massive scale. I mean, nearly everybody. A lot of people I speak to, they say, "Yeah, I'll come and see you. I'll come and see you." And
they sabotage.
And they sabotage it straight away. Or they come and see me once, then they realise that actually I am going to literally get rid of it. I'm actually going to take that from your life. You'll no longer have that. Yeah. Then they'll have 1,000,001 reasons not to come.
And that's the point when you get the odd client, and what they'll do is they'll as soon as they realise, because some people, they come to you not necessarily wanting to get rid of it, but to make it look like they want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And they're doing something about it.
They're doing something about it, but they don't really want to heal it.
So, but then what happens is once they do a session and you change something, they sometimes freak out and run away. Yeah. Sometimes they'll come back to me years later. I had a lady ring me up years later about her chronic back pain, and she sounded really genuine this time. Said, "I met you 10 years ago and I'm now ready to do something about it." Yeah. And I told her, "Right, okay, we'll do this." And she ran away again. I never heard from her, because she still wasn't, because it became her whole identity, her back pain. And I knew that. I knew when I spoke to her. I didn't even do a session with her. She was just talking to me on the phone. I can just tell, often, not always.
And if you get rid of that thing, what are you going to moan and complain about?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, it's your whole life.
And what are you going to post on Facebook? You can't post those memes on about, letting go of all your... No, you're not letting go. You're keeping it.
And what's really weird is that the human mind can't work out that actually life will be better.
Yeah.
The human brain, and I have been there, in fairness, I had something a few years back that I wanted to hold on to, and my brain could not work out that it would actually be better without it than it would if I kept it. So I do get it. I mean, even Steve's had it, but it is, once you're not in it, it's absolute insanity. But when you're in it, mate, it actually feels,
even the most trivial thing, when you lose that, it's like
freedom.
Blissful.
Oh my
so
God,
nice.
amazing.
It's like a high. So,
but when you're in it, it feels very real, and that is the problem with suicidal thoughts and depression. It feels so real.
Yeah.
But it is an illusion, and I know we say a lot of things, but it's sometimes very hard to just do. We know you can't just do what we're saying. We know you can't do it logically.
Yeah.
We're just trying to give you some hope and some understanding of what's really causing the problem, so you know that something can actually be done about it. So if you are experiencing suicidal thoughts or dark thoughts about something else, because it can be anything. I've had people, the woman who broke my heart a few years ago, I remember when we were friends, she called me up and she'd had dark thoughts about something come up, and she was traumatised by it, absolutely traumatised. She didn't tell me what they were, but I just went in and switched it all off for her, and she was fine.
Did you do it like that?
I did it like that, yeah. I was very graceful.
I might start doing that.
Yeah, just do that. And it took me about an hour or a half, I think, to do it, and she was very traumatised because she'd never had dark thoughts either. Yeah. But, in this case, it was just something she'd read that got stuck in her brain and she couldn't get out of her brain. And that happens to a lot of us. We'll read something, see something. This guy that I treated, as I was treating him over the weeks, because people think when you switch it off, nothing else comes up. But it does, unfortunately. When you switch something off, other things are going to come up. And what happened was, I'd switched it off, calmed him down, but then he saw on TV about Caroline Flack.
Oh, don't go.
And it triggered him. Yeah. It triggered him into his depression again because he saw that on TV. So that was another trigger that I had to switch off. So things can happen when you're clearing things to re-trigger it, but then you have to switch that off and keep moving forwards. Yeah. That's something I couldn't have predicted. Yeah. But because he heard that, and often depression is an auditory sound, by the way. So we've mentioned it before, but auditory sound is depression, which then leads to suicidal thoughts. Because he heard that then triggered off the thoughts in his mind that there's no point, and he felt guilty about existing. Yeah. So these things can be triggered by lots of things, but once we switched that off, he felt much better again, and he was fine. And he's been fine consistently for a few weeks now, and he's back doing his job, and he's doing great.
Some of the people that come and see me, I mean, in particular, there's a few people that have been seeing me for regularly. So they come and see me regularly, and what you just see, they don't notice it.
No.
But you notice it going from where they were, and every week they're just going better and better and better and better and better, and then their whole life's completely different and changed. but they don't see it.
No.
They don't see it. And you're sitting back going, oh my God, you're such a different person. And I don't see it. But you've just seen them doing that. But that's where the biggest gains happen. And that's, for me, that's where my biggest gains happen, is being dedicated and sustaining the dedication to it. And the desire to be the best version of yourself and be the best version you can be, so I can be the best version of someone else, that's the sustainability of that is where you get the biggest growth. But too many people want to come and see you once or twice, right, go on, I'm done now, and it doesn't work like that, because if you've had 42 years of crap, or 45, 48, 51, however many years of stuff, you got to realise that every time you have an emotional response to anything, it gets stored in your brain.
Yeah.
And so if you've got that many things, 2 sessions, I'm afraid, it's not going to get rid of all of that. No. Although we'd like to be able to just press a button and do that.
One day, hopefully, we'll be able to. But if you have had lots of things, it does take a little bit of time. And the other thing is, depends how deep you want to go. You know, some people will come to me and they'll do the surface stuff of what's happening now.
Yeah.
But then they'll go deeper to other responses, like with me, I cleared some stuff around my dad, but then I realised I was getting angry when I dropped my keys. And that sounds stupid, but I didn't want to be like that.
Yeah.
That's more down to behaviours and actions.
Yeah.
And then then you go on a deeper level and you go down to, well, how am I behaving around people?
Yeah.
And am I...
Yeah, that's what I say a lot on Facebook. If you're having negative thoughts, negative feelings, negative behaviours, then they're not working for you.
No, that's right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
They're not working for you, because they're going to make you act, feel, behave, and do things in a certain negative way that has a negative impact on other people, it has a negative impact on yourself. But what we do is, Dad, that's just me. I don't have to change that. No. Everybody else has got to put up with it. This is me, and if you don't like it, lump it.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? It's just like, that's not the way to live life, because life don't work that way for you. I used to think that way.
Yes.
Because that's what you sort of taught. But trust me, life don't work that way. No. And when you switch all your stuff off, you know, and when I say switch, when you get rid of all of the stuff that you're reacting to or behaving from a negative way, and your relationships, and you can communicate better, all of a sudden your life starts to work. Then that facilitates more good stuff.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You're now not creating new negative things. That's and that's
right,
the other thing, is what people don't get. It's just that when you start getting some forward momentum doing that, your life actually speeds up and better things happen, because you're no longer... You don't have the negative stuff creating negative stuff. So
that's right.
Anyway, getting a bit deep and technical now, so I might
very
leave it there.
Deep and technical right at the end of that. So, is there anything you want to add before we go? We're going to wrap up now. Is there anything you want to add that we've missed? Anything
I don't know if
about suicidal thoughts, depression, dark thoughts. Is there anything you want to add about that?
Not really. Other than that, depression is an anxiety in particular. It's caused by a conflict, and it is generally a loss. And so, when you know that, like you said earlier, that will give you a clear indication of why you're feeling that way. And the other thing is that that. The problem is especially with blokes, they go in their own head and try and work it out, and actually you can't work it out. So the fact that you might understand the loss, but you won't understand what's causing it. So I would try not to do that so often. And if you are really suffering from that, the longer it goes on, the longer you stay there. It doesn't generally just go away. You don't wake up one morning and all of a sudden God's come in and changed everything and has waved a magic wand and your life changes. No. That's the big thing, and a lot of people keep on going on and on and on and on, thinking, one day it's going to change. My life's going to change, I'm going to feel better. But when you know what we know, and it's actually hardwired in your mind, then it's always going to be there. And sometimes you'll lift out of depression. Yeah. Right? Because so you'll have a few good things happening in your life, and then all of a sudden you'll get re-triggered again. I went and had a coffee with a girl just before Christmas, and we were talking about one of her friends, and I said to her, she said, oh yeah, she's bought a new car, and I can't afford a new car or whatever. And she said, I bought a new car. I said, trust me, so give it a few months and watch her crash. Yeah. And I've been watching on Facebook, and that crash has happened because we were on that pendulum. We go on about the pendulum. Yeah. So anyway, getting a bit more clear. If you do really are suffering depression, you no longer want to have it in your life, then please reach out to us, because I've helping, and Jonathan helps lots of people solve their depression, and I've done it for me, and I've done it for lots of other people. So that's all I really want to add, really.
Nothing really much to add to that. Steve said it all. If you are suffering, then just give us a call. Yeah. But please realise something can be done about it. Yeah. Don't listen to people who tell you it can't be done. They do not know what they're talking about.
Yeah, sorry.
with the greatest respect, because we do it all the time. Yeah. And we did it with ourselves. You do have to be prepared to deal with stuff, and we'll say that. You have to be prepared to deal with stuff and switch it off.
Yeah, I think a lot of people want to get rescued as well, and that's a problem.
Yeah, and that can be a problem as well. We know a few people like that.
Yeah.
But if you genuinely want to get rid of it, there is hope, and that's all we're trying to spread is hope. We're trying to give people hope and show that it is possible. Yeah. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, hopefully we might be opening up in a...
yes, go on, tell me about that.
So I've been buzzing away, and I think I might have found an investor and someone who wants to get involved with myself and Jonathan. We're looking to open an inside-out clinic. We're just looking for the right premises at the moment, because obviously premises is important. Obviously it's going to be in Essex, but that'll be a centre. Hopefully we're going to call it probably the Healing Lounge, and there you'll be able to come as a centralised place where you'll be able to come and either see Jonathan, myself, or any other therapies that might be offering there at the time. So keep your eyes posted for that. I'm hoping that we're going to get that off the ground. So let's just keep our fingers crossed, and hopefully soon we'll have somewhere where there'll be a central place where you can come and see us, talk to us, find out more about what we do, and get your treatments there from there. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed for that. I'm really excited about that. And I put it out there about 6 months ago, and funnily enough, it sort of worked itself round. I've attracted it. I felt the client come. He believes in what we do. It's just it's all falling into place. So I'm chuffed to bits with that. So we've also got the Law of Attraction talk on the 16th of March. We're also at the Racecourse Expo. So Aaron Desmond's Network in Essex. We're at the exhibition there at the Racecourse. I don't know what the date is.
I don't know what the date is. Brilliant. We'll keep
I think it's a Thursday. I think it's the
25th.
I think it's Thursday the 25th.
Of March?
I think so.
Okay, cool.
24th or 26th of March. Anyway,
you can find us on Facebook.
Yeah, you can find us on Facebook. Go to our website. Do you want me to do that bit?
Do that bit.
Okay, so you can go to my website, which is healingthemind.co.uk. You can go to Jonathan's website, which is decodingpain.com. You can
find us everywhere, basically.
If you want also to find out anything about business and how we help in businesses, you can go to the inside-outeffect.co.uk website. You can find us on YouTube, which is Inside Out Effect with Jonathan and Stephen, or Stephen and Jonathan, which way I'm not sure. And you'll see all 23 episodes of our podcast, which you can also find on our websites. Find us on LinkedIn. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us anywhere, really.
So if you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find us, maybe you can help. For those people who don't know, that's the A-Team. One of my favourite shows. But it's very easy to find us, is what we're trying to say. So anyway,
so we really thank you for joining us again.
Yes, thank you. Really appreciate it. To everyone who's commented or made a comment, I just can't see them, but thank you. We appreciate that.
I did see my friend Michael, Mike Reed, and I went out for his birthday. Hello, buddy. Thank you for your kind words as well, mate. I did see them, but we were talking, and I didn't want to.
And if you know anyone this could really help, or is experiencing suicidal thoughts or dark thoughts or depression, then please get them to watch it. It can't, at the very least, they might learn something.
Yeah.
And it may just help snap them out of it, or realise that something can be done.
Yeah. All right, great, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll be back the next episode. We're hoping to have a special guest again for our next episode, and we will see you then. Until then, I'm going to say it's good night from him.
And it's good night from me.
See you later, Chads. Bye.